Hello everyone, this is Josh with Tuxedo Talk, still sporting a Freddie Mercury mustache for the time being. In order to be a modern day Freddie Mercury, you need three things: a mustache, to found one of the greatest rock bands in recorded history, and contract AIDS from having unprotected sex with multiple men. I have one down and I am working on one of the next. But the Andrew Tate video was, by my very, very small and minuscule channel standards, very successful. And I even got a request, and that was to have David Goggins. So today we'll be discussing the dangers of David Goggins, or just giving a general critique of the man. If you don't know who he is, David Goggins is the greatest boat carrier of all time. He is a former Navy SEAL who used to be a very overweight, unsuccessful man, and one day got it into his head that he was going to be a Navy SEAL and went out and did it. Lost a whole bunch of weight, went and became a Navy SEAL. Then he decided that he was going to become an ultra marathon runner in order to honor and raise money for one of his friends, who I believe fell in the line of duty, and went from having zero experience in running and smashed his feet while non-stop running for 100 miles. And from there forward, he's basically been the idea of just the ultra tough, it doesn't matter how bad it hurts, put your head down and achieve mindset. The ultimate grind mindset. You could say he is the ultimate example of this triumph of the will over the body that a lot of young men find very inspiring. And I will even say that on the net, I think the guy is a net positive towards the world. But there is a dark side, a dangerous side to him that, again, I haven't seen anybody say. There's all kinds of people who just say, oh, he's cringe, or this isn't realistic. And fine, fair enough. Like, he openly says, my message isn't for everyone. I'm not telling you to do what I do. This is just what I have to do. For him, he has an alter ego in his mind that he calls Goggins that tells him to not be a bitch. And you'll see many videos of him where he's talking to himself and pushing himself farther. Or he'll sit in there and say how he has this inner voice of the inner bitch, who tries to convince him to be lazy. So there'll be something he'll go to do and it's kind of hard, and he'll have in his mind of, let's not do this today. And then he'll punish himself by making himself do it for like 3 hours. And a lot of people go, wow, this is really hard, this is really impressive, and it is. I mean, if nothing else too, to have that type of mental fortitude is very, very impressive. But as in anything in life, an excess in one thing tends to lead to a deficiency in other things, and you might be running from something. So the man also has knees and body parts that are utterly shattered, just completely destroyed. So what we have is a man that has voices and different personalities in his head, who does really, really extreme things that have hurt himself. These are the hallmarks of somebody who is literally mentally ill. Like, if he was saying that Xenu was in his mind and was telling him to smash his penis into a sliding glass door for hours on end, we wouldn't go, wow, that's hard. We'd go, David needs help. But because it's something that he's made work for him through exercise and marketing himself, he's taken what's a possible mental illness and made it inspiring and profitable. But here's the dark side to it, that when you look at the man, is that he's fallen into a thing of diminishing returns, and I see that it's, from what I can gather, hurt him in other parts of his life. From what I understand, he has an ex-wife and a failed marriage. And while I cannot 100% confirm it, I think that the man has a daughter that he doesn't even speak with. And so my question would be to David Goggins with how he's living his life is, maybe as opposed to running 200 miles, you could have worked on your marriage a little bit more. Maybe as opposed to doing however many thousands of chin-ups you did, maybe you could have had a better relationship with your daughter. Is doing 5,000 chin-ups as opposed to 1,000 worth a relationship with your own flesh and blood? Why is it that you're doing this? And he'll say, because you're not, motherfucker. To which I go, that's crazy. So my argument to young men and really anybody who finds inspiration from David Goggins is that if you watch him and you feel inspired to not sit on the couch, not be lazy, and to go out and get after it, and that's what you need, and it's working for you, I'm glad that he does that for you. That is absolutely wonderful. But what I will also say is that make sure that you're not masking something positive as you running away from something that you just don't want to do. Because the man talks about how he had a very, very negative relationship with his father, how his father was a savage and he became a savage in a different way, and how they never had that, was never resolved. So if you're the type of person who you're always on your grind and you're laser focused on one thing to the detriment of everything else, that might be something you need to stand back and say, why am I doing this? And maybe everybody who's telling you that, no, you don't need to run 250 miles. You're destroying your knees. Maybe they're not being a bitch. Maybe they are just giving you sound advice. Maybe you are ignoring everything else in your life, and it might actually be a problem. It's kind of like the idea of if you've ever taken a glass of water and poured it out, the first couple of seconds, the vast majority of the water comes out of the glass, and then it'll just do the thing where it dribbles it a little bit, and then you'd have to literally take a paper towel and dry it out to get the last bits of the water out. It's when you take something that far like he is, you are expending inordinate amounts of your time to get those last little bits of drips of water out, and it's at the detriment of everything else. So that would be what I would say is the danger of David Goggins, is that he is a man completely devoid of balance, and it's inspirational to people who are also in a completely devoid of balance, but it can really, really destroy your life as well. That man in 20 years is going to have a destroyed body and probably be all alone. So, he's not the worst role model in the world, but he's certainly not the best. Who is the best? I don't know. I'm just some guy on the internet. So, that is my stance on David Goggins.